from Paris. So you want to visit all the places in Paris that social media, TV, and movies recommend. What these sources don't tell you is that for many locals, such as myself, a lot of these spots are in our hit list of places not to go. Hi, my name is Jamie, and I've been a pseudo tour guide for friends and family here in Paris for around 8 years. So trust me when I know exactly the places that you should not be going to and the places that you should be going to. In this video, we'll be going over 5 commonly recommended activities and places that I think you should avoid in Paris. We'll also be giving you a lot of alternatives for a more local and authentic Parisian experience. And of course, hacks if you really want to go to the places that we tell you to avoid, because after all, this is your trip to Paris and we're just here to make it better. Okay, on y va. The Louvre is the most visited museum in the world. In fact, it is so big, it would take you 200 days to see every single piece of art if you were to look at each one for only 30 seconds. That is exactly why this is the first spot I'm going to tell you to avoid. You simply can't see all of the artwork. Even on the Louvre website, it gives you an itinerary on how to see the most art. And if you're like, how could you tell people to avoid the Louvre? Well, come on. I feel like it's a spot that everybody tells you have to go to, but I mean, if that's the only reason you're going, it's way too crowded and large to even make that worth it. So I'm gonna give you a couple alternatives, but first, here are some great hacks in case you do want to go to the Louvre. First, make sure to buy your tickets in advance. I recommend getting your ticket around 2 weeks in advance. The slots do fill up fast, but like I said, 2 weeks is fine. And this is a hack that I'm surprised not more people know, but do you see the entrance that's behind me? Avoid this one, that's the pyramid entrance. There's actually another one that's just over there, past the Tuileries Garden. It is called the Porte de Lyon entrance. That's the one I recommend. You can get inside in like 5 minutes tops. Okay, and if you're an art lover looking for some alternatives, here are a few for you. Number 1, the Musée d'Orsay, which is a beautiful museum with a great collection of post-impressionist and impressionist art. Number 2, the Musée de l'Orangerie that houses Monet's water lily collection. And number 3, for the modern art lovers, you can check out the Centre Pompidou. It has a huge collection of modern art pieces, and the exterior itself is super cool. If your vibe is more off the beaten path, you can check out our article up on the Love in Paris website for 12 unique museums that you have to visit in Paris. You can find that in the description box below. The Eiffel Tower has the most spectacular view of the city. It's genuinely a classic. Going to the top of this historical Parisian monument is definitely a bucket list item, and on your way up, you really get a great sense about how massive this monument is. The view from the top is so spectacular, but it's missing one thing. The Eiffel Tower. I loved going to the top, but in my 8 years in Paris, I've only been up once or twice, and honestly, I don't plan on doing it again. And don't get me started about how crowded the area has become. It is a hot spot for pickpocketers and scammers, and honestly, it's just so crowded that it doesn't feel special or magical. It feels like a type of spot that you just want to get in and get out as fast as possible. If you still want to visit the summit of the Eiffel Tower, I'm going to give you a couple tips and then also some alternatives. First, tickets sell out fast, and they go on sale around 2 months in advance, so I definitely recommend you snag them when you can. Tickets come out midnight Paris time, and I recommend that you set a timer to grab them ASAP. I was doing a bit of research and somebody said that the tickets were selling out 15 minutes after they came out, so definitely you need to be fast. Second of all, even if you have a ticket with a time slot, you most likely should get there around 15 to 30 minutes in advance, just because the security line is pretty long. Like I said, the best views of Paris do include the Eiffel Tower, so here are some alternatives to give you exactly that. Number 1, if you want a classic Parisian experience, I recommend going to the top of the Arc de Triomphe. It's a monument nestled in between 12 avenues, which makes the view so incredible. The Arc de Triomphe is very old, which means it has so many historical gems inside, and you can learn about Parisian history and the Arc de Triomphe's history when you go inside. The only problem is that because it's so old, the only way to get to the top is by stairs. This means it's not accessible for people with mobility issues or for wheelchair users. Tickets start from 16 euros, and if you book online, you can actually get a specific time slot. Don't worry about doing it too far in advance before your trip, because honestly, they don't sell out very fast. But if you do want a specific time slot, I recommend doing it a week before your trip. Number 2, the Montparnasse Tower. Because let's be real, Parisians and tourists alike, they agree that this building is kind of ugly. But if you go to the top of it, you don't have to look at it. Prices start at 25 euros, which makes them pretty similar to the Eiffel Tower. This is one of the tallest buildings in the center of Paris, and the view is very nice. Is that weird? Whatever. Number 3 is a suggestion that I kind of want to gatekeep because it is like my best kept secret, but I will share it with you because I'm very generous like that. Every year from April 1st to September 30th, the Pantheon opens its panoramic dome, which means you get a beautiful 360 view of the city. Prices start from 16 euros 50, and honestly, it is well worth it because the Pantheon in itself is such a beautiful monument. Just like the Arc de Triomphe, tickets don't sell out fast, so you can kind of book your time slot depending on your schedule for that day or for that week. Loving our tips so far? You can get more in our downloadable Paris 101 guide. In it, you'll find more tips on how to conquer Paris like a local, like how to tip and how to use public transportation. If you want the Paris 101 guide, you can get it in the description box below to download it for free. Okay, back to the video. The Champs-Elysees is one of the most iconic avenues in Paris. You can find everything here, from designer shops like Louis Vuitton to high street stores like Zara, all the way to classic French pastries like the macaron à la durée. The Champs-Elysees has a little bit of everything that Paris has to offer. The only problem is that these are non-local versions of everything. Because of how popular it is, it's pretty hard to navigate for a fun shopping experience. It's overcrowded and full of tourists. Sure, like I said, it has everything you need, but it is at the most touristic of costs. There are only a few occasions that I genuinely recommend the Champs-Elysees. The first one is for the first of every month. They clear out the entire avenue to be pedestrian only. It is so much fun to just walk down the avenue, like not worrying about cars, and honestly, it kind of helps the crowd control issue. The second is during holiday seasons, where they deck the entire avenue with these gorgeous Christmas lights that run all the way into Avenue de Montaigne, and it is the most beautiful thing that I've ever seen every December. One of my favorite activities to do. For travelers interested in shopping, there are so many great alternatives that are way better than the Champs-Elysees. For designer alternatives, I recommend either Saint-Germain-des-Prés or Rue Saint-Honoré. They are designer-lined streets that are way less crowded. For French clothing stores like Maje, I definitely recommend trying the Marais. They have so many independent boutiques and clothing stores for you to check out. If you like vintage shopping, we have a guide up on Love in Paris to help you navigate vintage and thrift shopping here in Paris. You can find that in the description box below. I know you've seen these massive tour buses around Paris and think to yourself, this is a great way to see Paris in one day. And yes and no. I mean, the buses go around a small route that hit the Louvre, the Eiffel Tower, and the Arc de Triomphe. In theory, it seems pretty useful, but here is why you should avoid them. First of all, you are missing out on what makes Paris so special. These buses, they can't go down those little side streets with all the local businesses. In fact, you almost miss the entire left bank, which is a part of the city that is south of the river. You also miss the entire Marais, which is a fun and lively district in the 3rd and 4th arrondissement of Paris. Another thing, these tour buses are a part of massive conglomerates that do not contribute to the local economy. Luckily, there are so many great ways that you can see the city and still support local and small businesses. You can take walking tours, bicycle tours, or my personal favorite, a motorcycle sidecar tour. I recently went on one with Chango Tours, and my tour guide Simon was incredible. He had so much knowledge of the city, and I asked him so many questions, and he had answers to all of them. Like, his mind is insane. For Paris locals, we all know this one cardinal rule. Stay away from Seine dinner cruises. You might think it sounds so romantic to do a cruise during sunset, but it's not. I took one a while back, and honestly, it was the worst food I've ever had in my life, and I spent so much money on it. That's a bad rating, I know, but trust me on this one. I get the appeal. The banks of the Seine are so beautiful, and there's so much going on, like tango or picnicking, not to mention the iconic view of the Eiffel Tower. If you are going to do a Seine cruise, avoid the dinner ones. You will be spending way too much money on food that is just not good quality. The best way to avoid the dinner cruises are by taking either massive boats like Vedette du Pont-Neuf or Bateau Mouche, or taking a more intimate boat like the one at Quai de la Photo or the Bateau Bus, which is a Seine taxi. If you just want a boating experience, you can also rent a private boat on the Bassin de la Villette. I've done it with my friends. It's way more affordable than you think. Doing these massive Seine cruises is not something that I recommend if you're looking for a more local experience. It feels like they're stuffing as many tourists as they can onto these boats, and that is an experience I personally don't enjoy. That being said, sometimes I do get on one of those sunset cruises just to experience what it feels like to be in Paris for the first time. Honestly, like it really doesn't stop being magical. Like, I really like doing it. If you feel like experiencing the banks of the Seine, you can do walking tours or bike tours, or my personal favorite is you can go to the supermarket, grab some food, and just have a picnic. My favorite spots along the Seine are Quai Saint-Bernard, where all the dancing and the tango happens, Quai de Tuileries, which is right in front of the Orsay Museum, and it has a beautiful sunset view, and Quai Célestine, which is bar-lined, lively, and electric at night. So which of these activities was in your Paris must-see list? Let us know in the comments, and if you'll be trying out any of our alternatives. If you want to learn more about Paris for your upcoming trip, just click one of these videos around me to dive right into the Love in Paris channel. Okay, à la prochaine!